There's something deeply meaningful about the relationship between a teacher and a student. A teacher shares knowledge, guidance, and experience, the very foundation that helps shape a student's future. It's a bond built on trust, growth, and mentorship. But this story turns that idea completely upside down. In this case, a female teacher crossed boundaries with a young boy in a way that ultimately destroyed her own future. What started as something hidden soon spiraled into a situation no one expected. And just when things seemed clear, a shocking twist changed everything. A video surfaced. A single video that completely overturned the entire case. What was in that video? And what really happened between the teacher and the boy? This story begins in June 2024 in Haryana, India. There was a teenage boy living there who struggled badly with his studies. No matter how hard he tried, his grades never seemed to improve. He constantly lived with the fear that if he failed again, his parents would scold him and lose faith in him. But there was another side to him. He was unusually mature looking for his age, tall, confident in appearance, and noticeably more grown up than most students in his class. Perhaps that very factor would later play a role in the tragedy that followed. On the other side of the story was his female teacher, 40 years old, married for nearly 14 years. Her husband worked in an office, and the two of them lived alone. At first glance, everything seemed normal. Now June vacation had begun, and with school closed, she suddenly had far too much free time. One morning, she got into a heated argument with her husband. Hurtful words were exchanged before he left for work, and those words seemed to echo in her mind long after the door shut behind him.
No one knows what thoughts were running through her head that day. But soon after, she made a decision that would change everything. She called her own student and reminded him of his weak academic performance. She told him that if he trusted her, she could help him score much better marks and pass his class confidently. For a boy constantly afraid of disappointing his parents, this sounded like an opportunity he couldn't ignore. He agreed to visit her house. When he arrived, he noticed that no one else was home. She offered him water, and after a few minutes, they both sat on the sofa talking. At first, the conversation seemed normal, but gradually the tone shifted. She hinted that if he followed her instructions, she would reward him with extra marks. Tempted by the promise of academic success, the boy kept agreeing, though uncertainty began to grow inside him. When she suggested moving somewhere more private to continue their discussion, he felt uneasy and expressed hesitation. However, the situation escalated and professional boundaries were crossed in a way that should never have happened between a teacher and a student. In that moment, neither of them seemed to think about the consequences of their actions. She felt satisfied because the emotional and physical attention she believed was missing in her marriage now seemed to be fulfilled elsewhere. The student, on the other hand, was pleased for a completely different reason. He believed that with her support, he would receive extra marks in class and finally pass with good grades. For a while, everything remained hidden. Soon, classes resumed, and even inside the classroom, their glances would occasionally meet, carrying a secret no one else knew. Because of their inappropriate connection, the teacher began awarding him noticeably higher marks. During this time, whenever she noticed that her husband was not at home, she would call the boy over. Driven by the temptation of academic advantage, he continued to agree to whatever she asked. He had no idea what consequences awaited him in the future.
After meeting multiple times, the teacher began to worry that repeated visits to her house might raise her husband's suspicion. So on July 21, 2024, the two booked a room at a local hotel, room 203. They met there privately, and later they were said to have met again in the same hotel, this time in room 107. Whenever they arrived, the teacher would tell the reception staff that the boy was her relative, after which they would head to the room. But secrets rarely stay buried for long. Gradually, her husband began to suspect that something was wrong.
Arguments followed, tensions escalated, and eventually the couple separated. The teacher moved into a separate residence of her own. From June to September, months had passed, and they had met many times in secret. What once felt like a hidden arrangement had slowly turned into something far more complicated. Then one day, a new fear entered the teacher's mind. What if the boy spoke out? What if he revealed everything? The thought alone terrified her. She tried to persuade him to stay silent and handle things maturely, but instead, arguments began to erupt between them. Tension replaced secrecy. After several disputes, one particular argument changed everything. That day, after a serious fight, the teacher panicked. She feared that if the boy told anyone, his friends, his parents, or the authorities, her entire life would collapse. Her career would end. Her reputation would be destroyed. She went to a local police station in Gurugram and filed a complaint. In her statement, she accused the student of inappropriate behavior and forcing himself into the situation. Based on her complaint, a case was registered against the boy, and within a short time, he was arrested. But the story did not end there. When the boy finally met his family, he broke down and told his father everything, from the beginning to the very end. Then he handed over something shocking, a video. It was a recording that made his father deeply uncomfortable and furious at the same time. The footage reportedly showed both the teacher and the student together during their private meetings. However, there was one crucial detail in that video, something that changed the entire direction of the case. When this video was presented to the police and later in court, the narrative began to shift. It became clear that the reality of the situation was far more complex than the original accusation. And in that courtroom, as the evidence played out, the truth slowly started to come to light. As the investigation moved forward, the video made one thing increasingly clear. The responsibility did not lie with the boy. The evidence suggested that the teacher had used persuasion and manipulation to draw him into the situation. What began as her complaint against the student slowly turned against her. The case she filed ended up exposing her own actions. Soon after, the police arrested the teacher in January 2025. After her arrest, she repeatedly attempted to have the case reframed in her favor. She applied for bail several times, hoping the court might reconsider. Meanwhile, lawyers and the judge carefully examined the video footage in detail. The recording reportedly indicated that the teacher had taken the lead in the interactions, and it also showed moments where the boy appeared hesitant and had tried to refuse. This detail became critical in court. By June 2025, she had applied for bail 3 separate times. Each time, the court rejected her request. The case became a serious example of how misuse of authority and poor decisions can completely overturn someone's life. Now, what do you think about this teacher-student relationship and the choices that were made? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more real, suspenseful case stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.